What up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Valvoline, the original motor oil. And that shouldn't surprise you because we're recording from the Valvoline booth at SEMA all this week. Did you know that Valvoline is America's very first motor oil brand? For 150 years, they've been innovating, creating, and reinventing motor oil. From the very first high mileage to the first synthetic blend to the first racing oil, they've never stopped pursuing innovation to maximize engine life. And their latest innovation, extended protection full synthetic motor oil, provides 50% better wear protection than industry standards and is 10 times stronger against oil breakdown. Valvoline Extended Protection is specifically formulated with dual defense additive technology, which combines an innovative additive boosted with a fortified detergent system. You may not think that you're a severe driver, but short trips, towing, extreme temperatures, turbocharged engines, heavy loads, or spirited drives all put extra pressure on your engine. And people like Chris Forsberg, Rob Dahm, Freddie Tavares Hernandez, Speed Academy, Gears and Gasoline, Dustin Williams, and TJ Hunt all trust Valvoline in their cars. I love Valvoline because of their victories on the racetrack. Everything they've accomplished on the track gives me confidence that I'm putting high quality motor oil into my car. They've got a dedicated engine lab which allows them to run specialized and standardized engine tests right in their own facility, and they're the #1 supplier of EV battery fluids, offering tailored products to help extend vehicle range and efficiency. Valvoline is proud to be the official motor oil of Hendrick Motorsports, and Valvoline driver Kyle Larson was crowned the 2021 NASCAR Cup Regular Series champion with 9 wins and 2,000 laps led. So thanks to Valvoline for bringing us out to SEMA this week and giving us a booth to record from. And find Valvoline, ask for it by name at your local auto parts store. Oh man, dude, we are also sponsored by Vuori. This is brilliant. Why? Because in this particular situation, I found a product in a store, started buying it, started using it, and then talked about it on the podcast, and then you guys, the fans, got a hold of the Vuori people and said, Matt Farah is talking about your product. You should sponsor their show. And here they are, sponsoring the show. I talked about their products because I have been buying a shirt they make called the Strato, which is a t-shirt that is the single best moisture-wicking t-shirt I have ever worn. I literally bought 6 of them, and now that I've got a Vuori discount code, which I'll share with you guys, I'm going to buy a dozen more. I've basically stopped wearing all other t-shirts. Vuori is a new perspective on performance apparel. It's perfect if you're sick and tired of traditional workout gear. And this ad they gave me talks a lot about working out, and Vuori shirts are good for working out because of the moisture wicking thing, but honestly, I just wear them all the time. They're great, stylish t-shirts, and you could pair them with a blazer if you wanted that look. You could pair them with jeans when you go out. They really fit nicely. A bunch of folks asked me if they kind of misheard me. I said they were great for sweaty people, but they misheard me and said, what are the shirts that are good for big boys? And that's true and not true. They come up to a XXL and they fit. The fit is very true. It's a good fit. They don't have like 5XL, so I'm sorry about that. But if you're sweaty, if you are a sweaty person and you don't like the idea of appearing sweaty, these shirts are incredible when it comes to moisture wicking. They're also offsetting their carbon footprint 100%. They're reducing and offsetting 100% of their plastic footprint from 2019 and beyond, utilizing better sustainable materials for their products, which help empower your best active life. I'm not sure what those two have to do with each other, but nevertheless, they are good. The shirts and the pants are incredibly versatile and comfortable. Give them as a holiday gift for the sweaty person in your lifestyle. They're designed to look good in everyday life, perfect for working out. I wear them to Pilates class. I wear them on the elliptical machine, but I also wear them in the videos we make. I wear them when I'm just out and about. They are just my t-shirts now, and they're soft, they're thin, they are, and when it's hot out, oh man, the Vuori shirts are the best. They're super, super comfortable and incredibly moisture wicking. Vuori is an investment in your happiness. For our listeners, they're offering 20% off your first purchase. So get yourself some of the most comfortable and versatile clothing on the planet. And it's pronounced Vuori, but it's spelled Vuori. So Vuori.com/tire. Okay, Vuori.com/tire, and that will get you 20% off your first purchase, free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75, and free returns. So Vuori.com/tire and discover the versatility of Vuori. I'm so happy to have them here because I started by being a customer, and here they are. It's delightful. How about Stance? Stance Apparel is here. Also, all our friends and family only seem to want Stance Apparel for the holidays. You know, it used to be weird getting clothing as a gift from relatives you're never going to wear. Worse yet, socks and underwear. That was boring, but Stance has changed the game with their comfy, colorful gear. They sent us some socks, which I brought to SEMA to check out, and they are really nice. They got cool, fun colors. You can wear them with sneakers. You can wear them under a pair of slacks. You could even wear them with a suit, actually, because they're kind of like thin enough, and the weave is tight enough. They don't look like athletic socks. They look like a dress sock, but they could be an athletic sock also if you want. But like, it's hard for me to find socks because it's like it's somewhere in between like kitschy and corny, and then your standard black athletic sock or white athletic sock. But Stance has it. Great colors, great designs, creatively comfortable apparel that everyone can enjoy. Just go to stance.com and fill up your cart. They're guaranteed to make merry with quality comforts for you and your family. They made gift giving super simple this holiday season. Stance's premium line of socks, apparel, and more always comes correct with colorful constructions, innovative materials, and choice fits that are built to last. So, I got ones that have like cats on them. I got some really fun stuff, but there's also collaborations with the Goonies, Batman, Star Wars, The Office, Wu-Tang Clan, Bob Marley, Marvel, Major League Baseball, the NBA. All these companies and more and individuals have collaborations with Stance. So I really like the socks they sent me. They're very comfortable. You could wear them with any outfit. Quality seems very, very high so far. So Stance has the perfect gift for every punk and poet on your list. Go see for yourself. Head over to stance.com, just spelled just like it sounds, stance.com, and pick out some styles you think they might like. Enjoy the color and comfort of a life less ordinary with Stance. Last but certainly not least is Policygenius, baby. Rethinking your home and auto insurance. Thanksgiving is coming up, and there is a lot to be thankful for, like the French onion stuffing I'm going to cook this year. Get that turkey order in early, folks, and consider if you're paying too much for home and auto insurance. And if you are, you could be. I mean, pretty much everyone should be thinking that, right? Everyone's like, God, this insurance bill stinks. Maybe Policygenius can help. There's never a bad time to find ways to bundle your home and auto insurance and save with Policygenius. Are they almost up for renewal? Time to renew those policies? Let Policygenius find a lower rate for you. They make it easy to compare home and auto insurance in one place, helping you find home and auto coverage similar to what you have now, but at a lower price. They save customers an average of $1,250 a year over what they were paying for home and auto insurance. And Policygenius's team will handle the paperwork to set up your new policy or switch over your current one. Getting started is super easy. Head over to policygenius.com/smokingtire and answer a few quick questions about yourself and your property. Then Policygenius takes it from there, comparing rates from America's top top insurers from Progressive to Allstate to find your lowest quotes. Then the Policygenius can look for ways to save you more money, including bundling your home and auto policies. If they find a better rate than what you're paying now, they'll switch you over for free. Their top-notch service has earned Policygenius thousands of 5-star reviews across Trustpilot and Google. So head over to policygenius.com/smokingtire to get started right now. Policygenius, when it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. All right, folks, on this episode, we are still at our SEMA Valvoline booth, and today we're talking to Rob Dahm, engineer, YouTuber, mad scientist, and evangelist for the rotary engine. This dude has projects on projects on projects. I really like his way of thinking about certain stuff. I've known him for a couple years, but we've never really sat down in a long-form way to discuss the ridiculousness of some of the projects that he is working on, but this conversation is a true pleasure. Rob Dahm is on the Smoking Tire Podcast.
We do the intros at home, so we just fucking right in. Just dive right in. We're there. This is it. This is the whole show.
Wow.
Rob Dahm is in our non-enclosed studio at SEMA. What the fuck is up? Are you alive today?
I'm very alive.
Did you go out last night?
I did. To the buffet.
Did you buffet it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I went to...
Which buffet?
The Bacchanal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it delightful?
I took all the guys, because we made it here with both of our project cars, like not on trailers. The cars, we drove them from LA.
Which car did you drive here?
I took the Rotary Vet.
Get the fuck out of here. You did?
Serious, yeah.
Really?
It's over at MGM right now.
Oh, that's awesome. It's not even like in the show. You just drove it here?
I'm supposed to.
Just to commute?
Well, the one thing I get most roasted about is, okay, you can make power now. What about reliability? And so, generally speaking, when a car's not on my channel, it actually is running. I just get bored. I love tweaking with it. I love tweaking in general. I love tweaking my cars and tuning them. So as soon as I get bored with them,
you break them.
Yeah, I break them to do something more. Yeah.
So if the audience is not looking at it at this moment, odds are it works.
Yes,
that's good.
That's right. That is actually true. I just get bored. But yes,
when I drove an RX-7 a couple years ago with an LS motor in it, I was like, wow, this feels just like a Corvette.
Yes.
How about that? If you go the other way and you put a rotary into a Corvette, does it feel like an RX-7?
No, the gearing. You instantly notice the gearing.
Are you still using Corvette gearing?
My goal was to use all Corvette minus the engine.
Okay.
And that was counterproductive for me, but it proved the point I wanted to do, which was be extreme, show that the opposite could be done. But I mean, the gearing's horrible for a rotary.
Because it's way too long, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because you've got no torque.
Yep.
And so all right, so what is that like to drive? Gears are way too long.
First gear, you're like, and then you find.
What is redline in first gear? Can you do 0 to 60 in first?
I could. I absolutely could. But it's really funny because also counterintuitively is that when I was driving from Vegas, I'm doing 6 gear, 2,000 RPM in a rotary. And as long as
it's like bogging,
yeah. But as long as you're going flat, as soon as you can feel the slightest incline, the car just goes to shit. But
what's funny is that actually happens in Corvettes too.
Okay.
With a V8, like that gear is like, I like it in Corvettes because it's that fuel economy gear, and that's how you can have a 500 horsepower car that still gets 25 miles a gallon. It's pretty cool. But like you had a downshift out of 6 a lot. Yeah.
What's funny is it goes 6, D, 5th. D, 4th, D. I'm finally down into 2nd and 3rd to actually have power again. Now, counter to what everybody says about rotaries not having torque, they just don't have it at the same spot.
Right.
And so
they make it at 8,500 RPM. They still have torque. So why are you so into rotaries?
It's what people want me to be. No, I genuinely, I have no backbone.
Lulls, dude.
Yeah, no
the
backbone.
Numbers say
you actually want to be a gardener, but you're stuck in this role.
The truth is, I love LS and motors. No,
but like, don't you think that? Is it like literally that people like want to believe that they're shitty and they want to like hate watch the videos for that?
I think that some of my audience thinks that I am just like leading, like I'm obsessed with rotaries, and I am obsessed, but from a technical standpoint, it is not like I believe rotaries are better. I do not. Rotaries are a less developed engine They will not have a place in the future. You know, the emissions just show that no matter how much we fix everything else,
so inefficient
that it's just not going to work. But I love the uniqueness to it. You know, as a YouTuber, I am not the type of guy that wants to be like fighting Shmi or somebody else to unveil the new Lamborghini. Like I'm not that guy. I don't want to be the, you know, like I love having content that I create.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, for myself. You know, nobody else can do the first unveil of my all-wheel drive 4-rotor because they don't have the car.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was my like niche. And so rotaries, I just kind of painted myself in a corner, and I love that corner. Because
I remember the saga of trying to get that 4-rotor engine.
Yes.
Didn't it get lost in UPS and stolen by somebody? And
yeah, so that whole saga put way too much focus on that project too soon.
Yeah.
And so UPS
you need to
it.
release that shit on your schedule.
Yeah.
And like when people all of a sudden are invested in this project and the car is like 3 years from being done, you're like, fuck.
Yes.
People get burned out on this idea and I'm not even done with the car yet.
Yeah, it was number one on Reddit, all of Reddit. Like the homepage of Reddit, number one was that UPS had lost my motor. And what it exposed was like everybody else attached to that because they've all gotten stuff broken or lost.
Dude, people can really relate to shipping companies fucking you.
Yes.
Remember that the FedEx guy, Zach, who was hucking shit over my fence? So I got a gate in front of my house, and it's like 8 feet high.
Yeah.
Right? I live in a townhouse, and there's gates between, you know. And normally, they ring the bell, and we come get it. But when we got married, we registered, you know, now when you have a wedding registry, it's all online. People don't carry anything to the wedding anymore. It all just gets shipped to you and whatever. So we got a lot of boxes for a couple months. One FedEx guy, 2 days, same guy, because we have cameras, the same FedEx driver, hucked first a Le Creuset Dutch oven, like a cast iron, hucked it over the fence, and it landed so hard, it cracked like the Liberty Bell inside packaging, and also set off my earthquake sensor. Like I have like a...
You're not exaggerating.
No, it landed so hard that it set off the sensor that disconnects the gas in your house. When there's an earthquake, there's this sensor, and if it goes off, your gas goes off, and you have to reset it. That's for safety.
Yeah.
This fucking thing landed so hard, my gas turned off. And then the very next day, I found a box outside that had been hucked over the fence, and I picked it up, and it was just a box of broken glass. It was full. It was a full box of shattered glass. And anyway, I bitched about it on Instagram, and that became, for a couple hours, the #1 post on Reddit, bitching about FedEx.
Yeah,
And I just feel like people can really, to go back to your engine, everyone can relate to that. And because your engine was so rare, so expensive, and it's a fucking engine, it's like, how does that get misplaced?
Yeah, and I think because I was a little bitch about it. I waited, like when they say, hey, please submit all of this, and you submit all of that, and they say, hey, please send pictures. Well, because it was for YouTube, I documented all this. So they were like using that as barriers. Like, hey, do you have any pictures of the outside of the box? Yes. Do you have any pictures of what was inside, how it was packaged? I did, because I was documenting it for YouTube.
And isn't it like the problem that the receiver can't actually make the claim? The person sending it has to make the claim, which is a fucking pain in the ass on itself.
Who was in New Zealand, and the actual breakdown was because of UPS New Zealand and UPS United States had internal disagreement. That was where the real breakdown was. But when it was lost, it kind of exposed the whole storage wars side of things, because they've auctioned stuff off 6 months after it's lost. Or misplaced.
So it was sitting there. No one found it,
right?
And then they sold it to somebody.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so fucking
and
crazy.
So that guy actually posted.
Oh my God, that guy just blew a massive vape cloud.
You can still see it.
I don't think you're supposed to be blowing a massive vape cloud. He had SEMA. What did that engine cost?
So that was about $25,000 of parts. It wasn't the whole engine. It was just
the core.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's expensive.
Yeah.
Well, and there's only one company that builds those, right?
Yeah.
What's the name of that company?
It's like they call it. It's generic, like performance engineering. It's just a guy out in New Zealand.
They're crazy down there.
Yeah.
You want some crazy shit built, you find yourself a Kiwi. He's on that shit.
Especially rotary stuff, right?
Yeah, those guys pioneer so much stuff. It's funny because my videos get a lot of attention for me pushing my limits, and I acknowledge that there are other people that have done more. But you'll always see somebody from Puerto Rico and somebody from Australia/New Zealand saying, "Well, we can do it better," and they're not wrong. but
they're not wrong, but they're not humble.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Puerto Ricans and the Australians are not known for their humility.
Not at all.
Well, I mean, I used to shit on rotaries a lot because they're inefficient.
Yes.
And I was just like, why are people choosing to use this? But honestly, you and Hurt have brought me back around to appreciating them for what they are.
How Hurt could do it, because all he does is fucking break his.
Well, he breaks things that aren't rotaries also.
That's true.
So
That's true. He just breaks
He
shit.
broke a K motor out of a Honda. Like, how do you do that? Only
Well, so that's actually, this isn't private, but this is not really publicly known, is that I'm working on my own billet engine.
Oh, yeah.
And so what I Hurt is literally one of the people that he will break it. So I'm going to have him test one of my blocks, and oddly enough, we're in Valvoline's booth, but that's actually something that I think is under thought about with a rotary, is using the oil to extract heat out of the engine. It gets really technical as to why I think those engines fail. And so I'm testing all these weird things, and it's working. And I honestly, like my 3-rotor right now.
What was the problem with the engine that the blocks were? I mean, why is a billet block the answer to this problem?
Because to save money, Mazda made their castings very thin in certain areas, and so when the motor experiences detonation, that area just pushes really far. It doesn't break, but it pushes really far, and then the apex seal can basically fall out of the slot, or more or less just be like wedged against it. Things just start snapping.
Yeah.
And so what I make this like jail, where the whole motor, all those bolts all the way around the motor are much thicker, and they're actually almost press fit. And so when the motor experiences those sort of extreme moments, it doesn't
a lot less.
Yeah.
Oh, neat. When you go from 1 rotor to 2 rotors to 3 rotors to 4 rotors, what does the increase in power look like?
It is very linear. So
okay.
so a 3-rotor can make whatever
Is it literally like if you go from 2 to 4, you double the power?
Yeah.
So it is literally, the math is
it's
1 to
very
1.
straightforward. Yeah, the 3-rotor definitely hits a sweet spot. I think it's because there's so many drag racers that have been building those for years, so there is a lot of existing knowledge to make that 3-rotor work very well. But 4 rotors are not double 2 rotors yet, because they're longer, and so those bolts and everything, there's just not enough R&D done. So
in your block, is that going to be 4?
Yes.
That's a 4. Okay.
Yeah,
so can you then sell that back to the Kiwis?
Yeah. It's funny because I built off of their designs, but when I bought that engine, I bought the rights to what that engine was, a very custom engine. I bought the rights to it because they were like,
"How does that work?"
So it's more of a handshake agreement, but the guy that was working on it was like, "Hey, listen, this is super experimental. I'm not going to run it. I'll sell you the block." And I'm like, well, I want to build off of that. And so he's like, hey, you know what? If that works, that's all on you. That's yours.
Really?
Yeah. And so
I would get that in writing.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you come up with the design? You were like, I want it to be stronger, thicker here, and then you, they did the CAD on it, or?
So what I'm doing is iterative. I'm not going to oversell what I'm doing. Because I'm just very fortunate that I've seen bits and pieces of what other people are doing, and I'm trying to rule out, hey, this thing works, this one's not cost effective, this one is, and then now the design I'm making is my own. But it's based off of, my design is my own, but it's based off of, okay, I know that this area needs to be thicker. I know, nobody ever just comes up with something completely without the help of all the other people that have been building it. So I will not say like, oh yeah, even though it looks like my own, there are a lot of people that contributed directly or indirectly.
And this engine's designed for forced induction?
Yes. Yeah, I am not an NA guy especially with rotaries. It's like you're already 90% there, and then you have none of the power.
Yeah.
And truthfully, it's like you have all that effort and money spent into it, and then you're NAs sound amazing, but it's just like, well, you should just put a V8 in it. You should have just put a different engine into it.
Yeah. It's a lot of engineering for not much power. Yeah. The RX-8 was not.
And
not
we actually
good.
brought the RX-8 here. Isaiah's my fabricator. We bought one that was salvaged. The usual YouTube thing, broken salvage car. And
I bought the shittiest,
the cheapest XXX. And so we got it running, and again we drove that out here. And I think part of it is just to show that, hey, somehow I'm building engines. I'm actually the guy building my own engines, machining it, in-house with all my CNC stuff, and it's working. I don't know how, but it's working.
That's money.
Yeah.
Wow. So what is the status of that all-wheel drive car?
So the major thing that most people know it for is racing Ken Block.
Yeah.
And I had one race where I guessed my pedal just right and walked him, got out, and then held against the Hoonicorn, which that was literally the first time that car had ever launched. That was
awesome.
So I'm shaking down the car against Ken Block was, very, very, it was so intense. My emotions were like way beyond.
Yeah.
I couldn't process it. But the second run, I didn't know where in the pedal to go because it's, I hadn't any shakedown time. And so I bogged the launch and, I couldn't catch that car after that. So I took the engine down because I'm like, okay, I'm going to make more horsepower, but I'm going to rip this block. Something is going to separate on that block when I go for really, I'm going for 2,000 horsepower. Wow. And so, I need to make sure I can rebuild it. And so I've got the engine rebuilt now, machined it where I want it, added tons of features to it. And so the car should be coming back. I was hoping for SEMA, but wasn't aiming for SEMA. And so we got a full carbon fiber body we're building, shaving a couple 100 pounds out of it.
Wow, that's cool.
Because it looks, for anybody who doesn't know, which is probably very few people, but you took an RX-7 and then you stretched it made it longer, made it a lot wider.
Yep.
But it still stays really true to the shape. It just looks like
it doesn't look that
out.
much. I mean, it's cool, but it doesn't. It still looks like an RX-7.
Exactly. You see these RX-7s where they put like flat panels and shit on it. I'm like, the RX-7 is like an iconic, timeless body, and you're doing them a disservice by putting flat, square panels. And so my goal was that when you see this monster car, you say that's an RX-7.
Yeah.
I'm paying homage to that.
There's a really good one back here. Do you see this yellow one?
Yeah.
I think is it Fortunato? Yeah. That's a nice one back there.
That's my buddy Chris's.
That one looks good.
Yeah, that's clean. It's a Riamemia, just clean, iconic Japanese kit. But with the 4-rotor, one of my buddies helped design it in like 3D, and I honestly called bullshit. I was like, there's no way that you can design it in 3D, build the mold for it, and then make the carbon from it. And sure enough, they did. And so the whole front's built in CAD. I ended up having to learn how to use that program to get exactly what I wanted because I've been staring at the dead chassis for 5 years, dreaming about it. And we built, so the whole front's all carbon because it used to be like, it's 2 inches thick of Bondo. Because mating the cars together, you get this like stretch Wienermobile looking thing. And it doesn't, the curves don't work. So we added tons of Bondo to get the curve to stretch properly. And so we're shaving several 100 pounds off of the car.
Amazing.
Bondo's heavy.
It's 2 inches of thick of Bondo.
Peanut butter is heavy.
Yeah.
So that's what you're kind of gluing together with.
Yeah.
Have you strengthened the hood latch? Because that was a bit of a problem during that race.
You know what's really funny about that? That was a last second decision that made such an iconic me moment. So the hood we were going to run it without a hood, but that hood is 2 hoods stitch welded together as a proof of concept to get the right hood shape.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? The Hoonigan guys are they love that show that like, that's such a piece I wanted to sell on there instead of just the drivetrain. So we'll put the test hood on there, strengthen it a little bit more, but we added an air duct to ram air into the turbo.
Okay.
It missed. It wasn't aiming at the turbo. It was aiming in the engine bay. So it added tons of air.
A bunch of air pressure.
And no evacuation.
Yep. Yeah. So that was what
you
did
didn't
it.
exit for that air if we're doing that.
Didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is when that happened, that was the moment, my favorite moment in that whole thing, because Ken was kind of just like standoffish the whole time. And I wanted him to like my car.
He's a shy dude.
Yeah.
I mean, the driving style and then him as a human aren't necessarily aligned.
Yeah. And so as soon as he saw it, he's like, "Okay, we're done. This is over." I'm like, "No, I'm ready to go in. Is there anything wrong with your car?" I kind of like got all excited, and he's like, "Oh hell yeah, yeah." Because he was like, "We're done." I'm like, "Is there something wrong with the Hoonicorn?" And like, I don't talk like that normally, but I was all nervous and everything, and so I said that, and he's like, "Oh hell yeah, that's what rally's all about." It was so excited to see him like be excited that wasn't stopping my car. I mean, my care was the drivetrain. Yeah. I didn't care the body.
You guys cut that fender off next, and I think he says in the video, he's like, "That's just so rally." Because it's like, pull the part off that's in the way.
Yeah.
If it's working, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. The body meant nothing to me. That was never my goal was my name would be attached to the drivetrain. And if that car broke, that would say a lot about my building.
Have you, other than driving it in a drag race, actually like gone up a nice mountain road with it, or done any like just regular driving in it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. My plan for that car has always been straight line stuff to shake the car down while watching it on camera, and then go start doing turning. And very fortunate, like actually Billy Johnson actually stopped by my shop. He's a big Ford GT guy. Does a lot of Ford's like calibration for pedal and really big, big driver. And so like I got some really awesome people helping me learn how to take this stuff to the next level. Like Mike Kojima's helping me with all the suspension.
Oh man, he's a
genius.
Yeah, he's a genius and the straightest of shooters.
Yeah,
like
he
God,
came in and
just
he looks at the suspension. He's like, hey, that's falling rate, and I'm like, oh, like I was so excited that my suspension was the way I designed the control arms. I don't know shit about suspension. I'll admit that, but when I was making it, I was like, let me make the shocks at 90 degrees because that's, at ride height, the shock is at 90 degrees. So when the cantilever pushes down, it causes lower and lower force to be applied to the shock. And so he's like, your suspension's in falling rate. And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm just ready for you to rip this thing apart. Like, tell me.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't either.
Yeah, it just means that if the shock say it's a 300 pound per inch spring, I had it at ride height where it's 300 pounds per inch, but as you go, like say you hit a bump, it goes from 300 to 280 to 2. So I'm losing.
So it gets the softer. It gets softer the harder you hit the bump. That's probably bad.
That's
You probably want it to be the other way.
Exactly. So he rips that apart immediately. I'm like, this is the guy. This is the guy. Yeah. And so that. The car is the perfect example of, like, in theory it will work, but I mean, for it to race against the Hoonicorn at first, it is a very solid suspension design. Like the original geometry is shared with the Hoonicorn. It's like if you look at both cars from the front, their lower control arms, upper control arms, their kingpin angles, all that's all the same.
Oh wow!
But they got
intentionally.
Intentionally.
Okay.
So the guy that built the Hoonicorn, Ian Stewart, worked with the guys at RTR and Von Gittin Jr.
Yeah.
And so he sent me the front view of the Hoonicorn, all of its suspension geometry. And
wow, has he been killed and thrown in a lake by Ken
Well,
Block now?
he got busy. He was going to help me further, but he got busy with the RTR Mustang launch at the time and stopped answering my messages. And it wasn't intentional. That was not a priority for him. Right. And so I had to try and work from there on my own. So it's funny when you watch the video about. Everybody says, because I was counting pixels. What happened was...
You're counting pixels?
Yeah. Hoonigan released pictures of the isometric CAD of the Hoonicorn. And so when the guy stopped responding to me, I went to the Speed Hunters article and was looking at, since I know these certain suspension geometry numbers, and that's 20 pixels across on this.
That's funny. It's like having a grid over the drawing.
Yeah.
Doing it super old school.
Yeah.
There's
that's hilarious.
An article I just read in Road and Track about a guy that built a Ferrari Formula car replica in his garage. Hey, he'd built some cars before, but he did it very similar to you. All they had were pictures because the cars were destroyed, and he just found something in a photo that he knew the measurement of. Yeah. And then he built the chassis and he built the body out of carbon himself.
Was it Scarbo?
It was not Scarbo, but it looks a lot like that.
The Scarbo car. You ever seen that car?
No.
It's this dude. I think he's in Southern California. Joe Scarbo, who built replica of a Ferrari Formula One car. And I think it has an LS engine in it, but it has this crazy bundle of snakes exhaust, and it's just batshit.
Yeah,
and he does it all with CAD. This guy was more of like measuring with pictures. I just think this highlights your story and how incredible it is because you've taught yourself so much along the way, and like that's a problem you needed to solve. So you're like, well, here's how I solved that problem.
Well, it's funny because our friend Mr. Ferretti has always been ragging on me for years about all of this car's too big of an undertaking, which it was. He was 100% right that this car was way too...
He would know.
Yeah. Yeah. So
owner of the world's worst Corvette.
Yeah, that's very true. He was ragging on me the whole time. But what was wild is I didn't realize I was going to end up being the guy building it. I didn't realize I was going to be the guy doing the engine, doing the tuning, and that was because companies, kind of fell apart along the way. And that makes for great YouTube content, but not so much for your health.
That's funny. That's like there's a Twitter feed that's called, it's like Liza Minnelli has outlived. And it's like every time somebody dies or something fails, it's like Liza Minnelli has outlived Colin Powell. Liza Minnelli has outlived. And it's just like every day, it's like things that Liza Minnelli has outlived. So it's like Rob Dahm's 4-rotor has outlived like this performance company. The companies just like don't survive. And you're just like, shit, I have to learn how to do this myself now.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy because the general logic was that car should never have actually ran or be competitive. But here we are for example, I just bought an old Indy car, Indy car. And like,
what the fuck are you gonna do with that?
Learn what open wheel, learn how the suspension handles, for example,
most people would buy like a Formula Ford. or something.
Yeah.
It's like a little more manageable.
I didn't know those existed, to be honest.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, I'm not
That
gonna lie to you.
I didn't know that there were like slow, simple open wheel cars I could learn this on.
No,
So I
I
bought an Indy
Miata.
car.
Yeah, I have a.
From what year?
It's a 97, 98.
Is it just
cart.
a chassis?
I bought the engine too. I bought the
Really?
Cosworth out of it. Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
So
Does it run?
It will. It will. I'm rebuilding it.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, and
Do you
so-
have the stuff to run it?
Don't
you need
lack
like
of common sense? Yeah.
Don't you need like stuff to run? You can't start that with like a key. Don't you need like a thing?
Yeah, so there's a starter company that I've worked with in the past because I'm forced to do all this CAD work for my four-rotor. So it's like I have the ability now to take an Indy car that doesn't exist, like that is not all together, and build it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, man, I can use this skill not just for rotaries, but like, for example, all the suspension arms on that. I'm like, oh my God, I am overbuilding certain things. Seeing how this 900 horsepower Indy car, runs. So it's a learning experience for me. Everything that you see on my channel always goes back to making the four-rotor a better magnum opus of a car.
I wanted to make my project car better, so I bought an Indy car.
Learn from the
Sure.
best.
Again,
Makes
my
sense.
logic. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been like lightly paying attention to you for a while, but you know,
Yeah.
I'm a busy person. But I remember your four-rotor and the RX-7 and going, oh, that's cool. Is it a SEMA build? Is it just a show car? Because in this world, there are so many cars that can't live up to the performance that their parts seem to advertise.
Yeah.
And some of that is due to the tuning of them and marrying these parts together. And then you had a test video where like you clutch dropped it driving under an overpass and
Yes.
it just lit up all four
Oh
tires.
yeah,
And I was
that was
like,
a good
I
one.
was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
My hat was off and I was like, I'm paying attention to
Yeah,
this.
thank you. Yeah, that at the time, it was very ambitious. And if I heard somebody saying what I had said then, I would have the same skepticism. Because realistically, it should not have. I went to 2 different chassis companies to build the car, and as soon as you go to the second company, they're blaming everything on the first
Right,
company.
of course.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I lucked out that I didn't scope creep. It was already an extreme concept, so the scope never crept. I was just like, this is what I need to accomplish. And so each piece got further and further, and the audience has given me a hard time every so often because it's taking so long. But I mean, I'm not from automotive. I'm an IT
shit
guy.
takes a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. Like
Yeah.
even if you're doing like sort of basic stuff, it still kind of takes a long time.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not. The audience gets so fucked up by overhauling and Pimp My Ride and all these Fat Richard Rawlings show and everything. Like that's bullshit TV builds, man. Those things take fucking months.
Yeah.
It's not like that shit isn't really happening in 5 days.
And
Yeah.
those have a team. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know you have like a team that helps you produce this
Yeah.
stuff, but
Well,
it seems like
it's-
you're learning and building a lot yourself.
It's weird because I've got my buddy Isaiah, but he doesn't work with me full time. He has come back now to work with me full time, but he's one of those like when he gets excited to work and weld, he works and welds, and then he disappears. Like we had to do the flat bottom for the car, and he disappeared. He's like, I'm not doing that, and I'm like, I need help. I need help. So I ended up doing the flat bottom on the car. Like that sort of stuff is. Very humbling in the sense of like I now have a CNC machine. I'm a CNC operator. I built all the custom parts on this car. Like it's so nobody can take that from me.
Yeah.
And that's the best part because with YouTube it's like, well, I can't blame somebody else for my lack of videos. Like that's my fault now, and I love it. But as say you mentioned the four-rotor doing the overpass. The three-rotor, my three-rotor RX-7 is honestly something I don't understand why it's working. That car, like the core of the engine is not balanced. Like I have the counterweight off of one car. Each rotor is a different weight, and it's insane. And I'm testing all these things with these cars while trying to still entertain the audience so I can do my R&D while it's entertainment.
Wait,
Yeah.
why did you choose to make the rotors different weights? Or is
No,
it just they are that
it's just
way
the ones
and
I
somehow
had.
it's not twisting the crank into a pretzel?
The reason why was that engine is all used parts. I didn't want to put new parts into it. So I was like, well, I have this rotor that's 20 grams off. I hear that this is super critical that you have to have all the rotors weigh the same, but I've only heard that's hearsay. I've never seen that. And so I'm like, let me test it. And here I am at 1,000 horsepower, 1,033 to the wheels. Things about to pull wheelies. I just need to dial in the boost at the launch.
Wow.
And
Wow.
motor's running smooth.
Have you talked to any
weird.
builders that can explain why that's working?
No, the guys that build cars in the rotor world are building them for customers. They're all 300 to 400 horsepower cars, and they more or less have to warranty them. Where I'm,
people aren't experimenting.
Yeah.
They're taking whatever the prevailing knowledge is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever the they've told me you can do that. You can only do this, and so we're only going to do that. I mean, I imagine there's not a lot of folks out there in a commercial operation that have the time to go, what if we put fucking different weight rotors in this thing?
Yeah,
like
different weight pistons.
Because why would, like, what is the business argument for doing that?
Right.
You know what I mean? For YouTube, it's like, yep, throw some shit at the wall. Let's see if it sticks.
Yeah.
But like, there's no, from a shop's perspective, there's no argument to do it.
Yeah.
You know
And that's where I get a little altruistic, and this is truly part of my like drive, is that I get these kids, you have the same thing where you have fans that message you, and their position is like that car is their like entire life savings. Like they have a car that's $20,000, and that is their like, if that car blows up, their life's ruined.
Yeah.
And like I hate seeing shops sell them on fear and uncertainty of like, hey, this motor, you need to do all these other things, X, Y, and Z service to the motor, and they're just billing them all these services when it's like, is that really what's necessary for a rotary engine? And so I've been kind of, not myth busting, but going through all these, okay, let's get the rotors lightened. Honestly, lightened rotors, that's such a race thing. Like,
Right.
And if you blow that engine, now
like
you have to
people with their fucking stage 3 clutch.
Yes,
like, don't
yes,
do
yes,
that.
yes.
Your car's gonna suck.
Yep.
Don't do the super light flywheel. You're in the race clutch. Your car's gonna suck balls. You're gonna hate it.
Yep, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's that fear of like, well, I if I don't have it, I might blow the engine. Like, oh, hey, you need to use these special seals. I'm using almost all Mazda stock seals.
Well, we've been talking about this a whole bunch because, like, we talked about it with Kyle Tucker yesterday from Detroit Speed. The OEs have durability testing. Now, there's obvious places, like you were talking about, where corners are cut. But in other places, they're able to do a level of quality control and durability testing that, like, very few aftermarket shops can compete with. Yep. And so, like, whenever possible, an OE item, like, is usually the best way to go.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. You know, that for some reason reminds me, because I don't know why. We were talking about Ford a second ago, and I think of, you still have your Fox body?
I sold it, but it was, sorry.
But no, that's
Sorry
okay.
to disappoint you.
Yeah, that hurts.
But it worked.
But yeah, that
did work.
That's the thing, is that, like, when we had that YouTuber car challenge, and you had the Fox body out, that's the type of thing that, like, I want to take my 3-rotor out, which was then set up for drag, and now it's much more balanced, but it's still not meant for a track. Mm-hmm. It's meant for straight line stuff. And now that I'm in a position, I want to show the audience, hey, look at my super soft springs are going to be absolutely horrible, on turns. And like I want to show, like, I want to try and find a mid ground where, okay, this car can handle, but it can also go straight line. And if it's
that's doable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just don't make it too stiff. I mean, usually people fuck up their tuner cars by making them too stiff. And like, suspensions need to suspend. And like a little bit of body roll isn't the worst thing, because it provides a gray area in between, where you can feel the car start to get loose, as opposed to a really stiff car where it's grip, gone.
Oh, that makes sense.
Which you don't want.
Yeah.
Everything okay over there, Zach?
Yeah, you just got quieter, but I think you just moved away.
I got quiet?
Only like a little bit.
A little bit?
It's just the mic's more sensitive to distance, I think.
I
than
see.
The
So I shouldn't talk like this, you're saying, into the mic and rock back and forth.
I mean, that's quite an image.
I know. Why does it feel so at home to do that?
I feel right, Brian.
Yeah. How's that Diablo of yours? Now that we're both classic Lamborghini owners, right?
For me, the Diablo has always been a source of credit, in the sense of, like, when I had nothing.
Meaning you took out a line of credit to buy it?
Originally, I did it as this was fool. Like, me now, I have to look you in the eyes and say this. I structured it originally as a lease.
Jesus.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a different man.
What were can I ask the terms?
Yeah, I'll be honest.
144 months?
No, it was 5 years.
Okay.
I put down $40,000 up front for a $140,000 purchase, and then I had like a balloon payment.
Car was $140,000.
Yeah.
And it's a 6-liter.
Yep.
Wow.
I was.
You done come up, son.
Yep.
That is an unbelievable come up.
I lucked out on the timing. I did not have the money to buy that.
Probably a $400,000 car.
Yeah. I didn't have the money to buy the car then, but who would have thought that leasing that car would have actually been one of the smartest financial long-term decisions on accident?
It's a good return.
Yeah.
It's a very good return.
Yeah.
No, that's excellent. That's nicely done.
Yeah, so the car's all paid off now, and so I'm very thankful for that, because that was a childhood dream car.
Yeah.
But I was definitely.
What year was that?
That was 2011. I bought it.
Wow, that would have been that would have been minimum Diablo.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2011 was what? Let's see. That's probably the first year of the Aventador.
Yep. Yeah.
I believe,
went and
right?
visited them.
Yeah. So that's Isn't it amazing that like that car was like not particularly
People
desirable for a minute?
Want it.
I know.
Yeah.
Countach's too. Like when I was like probably 2006, 7, when I was working for fucking Rob Ferretti, the common prevailing knowledge was Countach's were shitboxes. That was the common knowledge. And now that I like drive mine around, I'm like, that was horseshit. This car rules. It's so
I was
fun.
told so much that, the Diablo is going to be super unreliable, and I have done nothing to that car. I did valve adjustment just because I was told I did, but I bought it with 10,000 miles on it. It has 35 now.
Oh, good. That's a bunch.
Yeah,
that's good.
I love that car so much. But, I purposely don't put that on my channel a lot because I don't want to see some asshat YouTuber overexpose that car. That car is a mystery to me.
That's interesting.
I don't like seeing...
I thought you were going to say because you just didn't want to put off like the rich guy vibe, which I get from you also.
Yeah.
Not the rich guy vibe.
Right,
You don't want to do that because your car, your channel is more about building stuff and that kind of thing and breaking shit.
But there's like the Diablo, when I was in love with it, was 1992 Guinness Book of World Records fastest production car. It was a little black sliver picture.
202 point something, right?
Yep.
I remember that.
Yeah. And that's what I fixated on. I'd never seen the car. I'd never anything. It was just that record. And then Dumb and Dumber came out, and you get those.
Oh yeah.
And so it was this like I fixated on this in the movie. The movie makes it this hero car.
275,000. That's a car.
I
don't want to hold on to that one.
Yeah, exactly.
You also buy like boot covers and furry things.
Oh yeah,
like,
I actually visited. I visited. It's in Loveland Pass. Is where that it's the same place where they filmed The Shining. It's the same hotel.
Oh,
yeah.
It is.
And so I visited that hotel, and they still have the man lands on the moon or whatever from Dumb and Dumber. It's in their lobby bar.
That's so
I had to visit there, but
I didn't realize the same as The Shining.
Same as The Shining.
Oh, I gotta rewatch and compare now.
Yeah,
I think filming in Aspen would have been a lot more expensive.
Probably right.
Yeah. The place.
Loveland Pass, good road in the summer. It's nice.
Yeah,
that's a good place.
What's the other? It's not Ridge. It's a city. It's a city closer to Denver than
Golden.
I can't remember, but it's a different city. I'm sure it's along I-70, I think, but whatever. It's not where they say it is, but it's the same hotel.
Fucking liars.
Yeah.
Fucking bullshit.
I believed everything movies have ever told me.
That movie really gave me an impression of Aspen, though. That I was like, that it was like the place to be.
Yeah.
It was like, if you hung out in Aspen, I don't know. I mean, it's all right. It's like a nice place, but I don't know if it's really got the same high society vibe that I got.
Yeah, that is true.
But that movie did like that. It's not a very big role in that movie. It's in the car's in the fucking movie for 2 quick scenes.
Yep.
That total not even 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But like it really, it was the right casting call, I think. For
and
that.
you take it and you go and you say, back then you couldn't YouTube videos about the car.
Right.
But you I don't know if you had this case, but I always I knew a person who knew a doctor who once owned a Diablo. That was the mythos of that car back then. You couldn't just get data about that car. You couldn't see the car. You had to know somebody.
When I was a kid, I'm talking, this would have been like I was like 9 or 10. I used to make my mom bring me to the gray market, exotic car dealer in Atlanta when I was a kid, and they had the first Diablo in Georgia, and that's where I would go to get up close and personal. And I never saw the cars outside of this dealer. That was the only place I ever saw them. But I got to touch them and sit in them when I was, and it made a serious impression.
Yeah. And that's where I think modern cars have lost a little bit of that mystery, and that's why I don't like filming much about the Diablo, because I just don't want to be the Diablo is super accessible to the general public from a content standpoint. I'd love the idea of when you see it, you're like, oh my god, is that a Diablo? And I know I'm just one guy that anybody else can buy it and make a YouTube video about it, but I don't know. I love that car more than it's a childhood dream car, not an adult dream car.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, when I take my red car out, I don't take it out to show off. I take it out because it makes me feel good.
Yep.
But when I go anywhere I go with it, anywhere, someone comes up to me and says, "This is the first time I've ever seen one in person."
Yep.
Which I've seen a bunch of them. I'm in this world. I'm spoiled. I still am every time I see one, and I'm really interested in poking around them. But it brings me back to earth a little bit, where someone says, "This is the first time I've ever seen one." In the wild, and it reminds me of how rare, supercars used to be.
Yep.
They're not, if you live in a major city, odds are you see a couple supercars a week, if not a couple supercars a day.
Yeah.
You know, in LA, like, we don't even look at Huracans twice.
Exactly. I live in Calabasas, and I drive all the way out to Ontario. That's where my shop is. And every time one-on-one, you know, there's 2 Huracans, you know, and like you said, it's just...
You commute to Ontario every day from Calabasas?
Yeah, well, I actually stay at the shop during the week. And so Mondays I drive in.
Oh,
and
my
then,
God.
Yeah.
Dude, you could save a lot of money just moving to the East Hills.
I know.
You could be right up on the Angeles. Do you see the house? There was this house... on Big Tahunga Canyon, where Zach and I would drive by it every week when we're going to film. It's the only, it just sold, and it was the only house in the Angeles forest that you could buy. Yeah, it was beautiful. It was expensive. It was like $2.5 million, but it was like 4 acres, compound, and I could never sell it to my wife. My wife would never, she's like, I'm not living up a fucking mountain.
Yeah.
You kidding me? But like, it was the dream.
Is it up right with the entrance to Angeles Crest?
It's on Big Tahunga, which is the back way. If you go up, up through Sunland.
Okay.
It's 20 minutes from anything.
It's 20 minutes from anything.
Okay.
A glorious 20 minutes from anything. A mostly unpatrolled 20 minutes from everything.
Yeah, that would be the dream.
Yeah. That's a long commute, though, Calabasas to Ontario.
Yeah.
Do people listening to this understand that Ontario is not Canada? It's a place in LA.
It's Ontario, CA, and I get a lot of people saying, where in Canada is that?
It really fucked me up when I moved to LA. And people will be like, oh, I came in from Ontario. I'm like, what? They didn't fucking understand it. There's a few parts of LA that have Canadian equivalents.
Yeah.
There's also a Paris, which really fucks you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, out where I'm at, where I work, is because I'm from Michigan. And so I get that, like, it's got that same kind of farmland-ish feel.
It's got that flat grid vibe.
Yep. So I feel a little bit more comfortable and safe. It's taken me some time to adjust.
Yeah. Wait, so why... we kind of really breezed over this IndyCar thing.
yeah.
Are you going to try to drive this?
Yes.
Are you going to work your way up to that?
By less pedal. So you're just like not full pedal.
That's the throttle.
But
control.
if I'm not, because it's a downforce car.
Yes.
So if you don't actually go fast enough, it doesn't
work. Yeah. So so the thing is that okay. Now you have to roll your eyes or just be like, okay, Rob, but that's the goal of this thing is that I've always wanted to build a car, an open wheel car, where it does not have limits, like tuned mass damper, massive vacuum on the bottom of it, and have some professional race car driver drive it and break a record, even though that's technically not a record to break. Like, what if you could actually make an Indy car be as fast as possible?
Like a rule-less Indy car?
Yeah.
Who was just McLaren has this 720 GT3X or something like that
so
is sort
good.
of like, it's basically like a GT3 car but without rules. You know, and it's like, how fast could we make this fucking thing go? And it probably is insanely fast.
Yeah.
But I sort of wonder if there's for you, there's a point. For McLaren, is there a point? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay, so are you talking, did you say fan underneath it like a sucker car?
Yeah, yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, because my four-rotor will not ever compete in any sort of sanctioned race whatsoever. It's always unlimited class.
Right.
You know, and like the four-rotor is designed ultimately to be like a hill climb car.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what that car gets, as long as it's capable, that's exciting. And for YouTube, I can fund it through YouTube. But I'm not going to win any races. You know, I'm not going to have any purse money. And so I was like, man, what if I did that with it?
That's a Goodwood car. You gotta bring that thing to Goodwood and run up the hill, you know?
Yeah, that would be an honor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the IndyCar is kind of like, the IndyCar is like, imagine me testing my billet engines in a FD. It gets really boring really quick.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, Rob blew another motor in his FD. But if I put it into an IndyCar, which is the ultimate goal, and blow it at 12,000 RPM, I'm collecting data, the audience is entertained, I get my R&D paid for.
Okay.
So that's where I'm going with it.
So you're putting a rotary in this thing?
Ultimately, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in the meantime,
I bought the original Cosworth, so because I need to understand the car before I bastardize it.
Right.
Sure.
You start changing
Yeah. That makes sense.
So that in a weird way, that's how my brain is thinking this will work.
I heard before. What year is the car?
97.
So does it have a sequential gearbox?
Yeah, 6-speed sequential
with a lever,
not
paddles.
A little wooden level.
And it has the adjustable sway bars and all that shit, or no?
There are no sway bars on it right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
this seems like a fucking very dangerous idea.
It is. It is. Building the 4-rotor was pretty dangerous. I recognize that the Indy car is very dangerous, and that's why it's not meant to be like a rushed project. But it is meant to be a weird, like, okay, there's a point to what I'm doing.
Well, you're kind of like putting it in qualifying trim, but with your own engine.
Which is weird enough. The Cosworth I bought is actually a qualifying engine. A guy from Cosworth messaged me. He goes, "You have a red tag."
Oh boy! Yeah. What's happening?
Yeah.
I like his jacket. That's fucking cool. That is a cool jacket.
Yeah. Yeah. So even the engine's got a little red tag, and they're like, that's a qualifying engine. I don't know shit about Cosworths. Yeah. But I know what I want it to sound like, and so.
What is the layout of that engine?
It's a V8, 2.65 liter. It's. I'm not a piston engine. Yeah, it's turbo. Yeah, turbo methanol. I think they said it made like 800 to 900 depending on the track.
Wow.
So yeah.
And it's used.
Yes.
So it's not okay. So it's not a brand new engine.
Yeah.
I wonder what does it take to get it to run?
They supplied the wiring harness.
Okay.
Because they were taking so long to get the engine shipped to me. So like, hey, we're sorry, but we have one wiring harness. Do you want it? I said no, because I do all my own wiring. And they're like, we'll send it to you for wasting your time, sort of thing. And so I have this full wiring harness, 16 injectors on the engine, two injectors per cylinder, and then they have 4 more that go in front of the turbo.
Wow.
And so, yeah. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so
that's pretty fucking cool.
It is really awesome. And so fortunately, I mean, like I said, all the stuff I've learned from the 4-rotor, it all applies to that Indy car. I can rebuild that Indy car.
I mean, you should probably put the Indy car engine in the FD.
That's the only time you would ever see that.
Because that company, Lenzante. There's this company in Europe that bought a storage unit full of TAG Formula One engines. TAG Turbo V6s.
Wow.
And what they decided to do is put them in Porsche 930s. And so you can buy from them, it's over $1 million. I don't know what the fuck it costs. It's very, very expensive. But you can, and some of these engines were used, some of these engines were new, some of these engines won races, like with Niki Lauda driving. And so you basically, and they work. Yeah. They make them run. I don't know if they run on pump gas, but they make them run in the car. You can't physically drive the car. And so they're selling, they're like Porsche 930 turbos, but with straight up Formula One engines in them.
That's insane.
And so you sometimes they'll put a little plate on the back that says, this engine, second place Monaco 1983 or whatever it was.
Wow.
And so yes, you should put an IndyCar engine in a regular car, and then take your fucking FD engine and you put it in the IndyCar. Yeah. Now we've got some content going.
Okay, I've got a question for you, because you're probably the voice of most reason in this world to me, and that says a lot. I have the first or only, it's the same thing, 6-rotor E-shaft meant for turbocharging.
Okay.
That is a use
6 rotors
in a row.
To the size of this table?
Yeah, it's 40 inches long. It's actually as long as our V12s. Same.
Long as a V12?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so I had it heat treated and meant for turbocharging.
Okay.
Because that engine already naturally aspirated has way too much torque.
Okay.
And so what I'm trying to think of is the audience wants to see it in a car. I care about the engine. Obviously, that's my thing. I'm not, but I'm going to turbocharge this thing. Probably 2 turbos, so it'll be 2 3-rotors out of phase, opposite phasing. So it should sound
2 3-rotors, but connected.
Essentially,
with one shaft.
Yeah. So it's all one shaft. It is one. It's physically one long shaft, but the rotor timing on a 3-rotor is 120 degrees, 120 degrees, And so on a 6-rotor, it's 120 degrees, 120 degrees, 0, and then it phases 50%, and so it's at 72, and so it'll sound. So I'm thinking I'm going to do 1 turbo for the first set of 3 rotors,
right?
Another turbo,
sure.
And so I'm trying to think of the right chassis to put.
And this is going to make a lot of fucking power,
a lot of torque and horsepower, like uselessly.
I mean, I feel, and it's the length of a V12.
Yes.
I'm going straight Aston Martin. I mean, I feel like the Aston Martin, if you could find a trashed Vanquish, like a 2002 to 2006 Vanquish, would be, because that car is so pretty, and it's muscular and tough, but by modern Aston V12 standards, it's a small car.
Okay.
It can still fit, it fits the engine, but if you park a V, like I have one, if you park a V12 Vanquish next to a modern DBS, it's a lot smaller.
Okay.
And that would be the jam.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I would say or you could do an F50. Or sorry, Ferrari 550, because they used to run race them in Le Mans like Pro Drive style.
Yeah.
So they have that racing history. So because this is going to be a gnarly engine.
Yeah.
I think you definitely put in something that had a V12 that was fast. I wouldn't put in a Rolls Royce or something like that.
Yeah.
No.
Because it's going to scream like an F1 car.
Yeah, you're right. It will scream.
Dude.
Let's see what else. What else has a fucking V12?
So
I mean,
the fans want to see a Viper, but here's why I'm against a Viper. It looks like an FD. It's too much of the same.
funny. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're definitely right. It kind of does.
It's if I was gonna just say, yep, YouTube, this is what popular vote is, it'd be a Viper. But I knew you'd have that sort of realm of a GT car, like a Grand Touring vehicle.
I'm really going to Aston Martin on this one. I feel like that would be really cool.
Yeah,
that would be the shit. Oh man, what else has a V12 front engine V12 that's? I mean, you could really go subversive on it and do like a Mercedes a CL600, like a S600 coupe, like big body.
Yeah,
true. You could do a big body coupe.
I feel like something big and heavy with. I mean, that's gonna make a lot of torque and power anyway. Yeah. But I just picture that kind of engine because it's so known for like revving to high. Putting it in something lighter.
What I was trying to do to be financially smart was buy like a Diablo that with a blown engine and get all the parts. So my Diablo will always have spare parts, and then this is kind of some Frankenstein project that has
That's
not.
a good idea.
Yeah, and
I mean, I think your Diablo, there are going to be parts for that car. It's not hard to get vintage Lamborghini parts. They keep up. They can be expensive, but they keep up with that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine buying a Diablo parts car is a financially sound move compared to just buying the parts that you would need to keep your car.
It was a thought that did not materialize.
Oh, that'd be really expensive. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you went to some like crazy like vintage sports racer kind of thing.
Right, I was thinking like a 275, like a GTO, something that had a V12, and you go real old school. But you have to get a replica, and then I don't know if you want to put it in a replica. That's
could it work something that had an inline 6 in it as well originally?
That's a pretty long engine.
So you could go like a Datsun 240Z, although it would twist that fucking thing like a pretzel.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, because we're talking definitely at least 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. So it's obnoxious. I know the thing is that's kind of like a Halo engine. It's meant to be a YouTube wild thing and a proof of concept, but it is not in any stretch of imagination going to be a competitive engine. It's too much weight, too big.
Yeah. So if it's already going to be too heavy to be able to turn laps in a autocross or anything like that, you might as well go touring. Yeah, right. Yeah. You might as well go touring, and that's why I come back to Aston Martin. Vanquish would be great. Or even like a DB7 could be pretty cool.
Okay.
That doesn't look like an FD. It looks like a Jag a little bit, but not an FD. Or a fucking Rapide.
What about a Jag?
What about a Rapide? Make a sedan.
Okay.
That's cool.
Okay,
Rapides, and they're cheap.
Yes.
Nobody wants Rapides. I bet Rapides are cheaper than fucking Vanquishes right now. Yeah. That could be cool.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of space. Because it's a four-door that doesn't really have 4 seats, even though it has 4 seats. So, like, if you had to move the seats back or something to fit more engine in there,
you could do that thing where you put the driver's seat, like, in the back seat. And you have that crazy long steering shaft.
Dude, that would look really good. Make it a 2-seater.
Oh, speaking of steering wheels, I haven't told this publicly, but this is not like a secret or anything like that.
You're not putting a yoke on that car, are you?
No, but on the Indy car, I am actually machining an adapter plate so that way I can use a video game steering wheel on the, because they have these racing sims, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to take it's a Thrustmaster open wheel steering wheel. It's aluminum. It's a real beefy thing, and I'm making it so that you could take it off of that and then put it onto your racing sim. Because I mean,
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought that I took my.
Is it safe? Is that safe? Is it a good idea?
I don't know if I'll race it like that, but I just
race it like that.
I just like the idea is hilarious that it's already like a video game car. Like, how cool would it be?
I mean, it's a good video idea.
Really, you really get a lot of man love,
yes,
don't you?
It is my channel is a bromance.
Handsome
channel.
Man. There's a lot of man love going on.
I'm very thankful.
And
for
that guy who was dedicating his love to you had someone filming him dedicating his love to you. Do you think that's his content?
I think so.
Do you think he just goes around professing his love for YouTubers?
I felt that was special. I thought that was just for me.
was
It
delightful.
might not have been.
The last guy with that coat was pretty good. You guys really got, look at this guy's fucking shirt, man. You really see some shirts. You really see some outfits here at SEMA. It's
There's a lot of self-expression out here.
Have you seen anything that's really appealing at the show? Anything? We might as well talk about SEMA since we're here. God,
Space.
Every time a fucking phone rings, I think it's me. I'm so paranoid about that.
Space. Yeah, there's space to not to walk around, and I enjoy it. There's tables to sit down at. I actually that is such a positive thing to me this year. Making light of the challenges. It's just like I can actually sit down and eat my food. Because like those hallways where you eat.
Oh my God, where people would be like in the corners and stuff. Yeah,
that was me. So this year it's not. I can actually sit at a table.
We walked around and there was Broncos everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is definitely the year of the Bronco. Lots of C8s, lots of C8 Corvettes, bunch of Supras.
Yep.
And I mean, not a lot of other modern sports cars.
There's a lot of hot rod, a lot of throwback stuff, a lot of vintage shit. Yeah, it's true.
And a lot of EV swapped old muscle cars and classics. That seems to, not that I'm shocked, but that seems to be the high trend right now is how to EV swap your whatever it is. Yeah. Have you fucked with any of the EV stuff yet?
I'm admitting the reality of that and avoiding it, but I'm probably gonna have to incorporate that at some point. My dad's a big electrical engineer, so he's obsessed with it. So as a kid, you're not like all about what your dad's about, and so I was avoiding EV for a while, and then
you could do like an EV torque vectoring all-wheel drive system along with an internal combustion.
Because a rotary with the low torque at the bottom, EV with the high torque at the bottom,
and also the rotaries you could use that as a generator.
Yeah.
Also, you could build a small rotary, and I think some company has that. Some company's got an extended range hybrid that has a rotary generator.
Their CX-30
is that Mazda?
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like a smooth, high revving engine would make a very good generator. For power. Because I think these last three shows is like the longest we've gone without talking about EVs. We've really had a streak of heavy EV content for a while.
Well, we had a lot of EV press cars, and some of our guests had EV press cars and whatnot. Yeah. We are seeing it move in here, because I remember I was here at SEMA like 5 years ago, and it was right when EVs were kind of really on the tip of everybody's tongue, and you're looking out over this sea of like Holley and different carburetor manufacturers and everything. You're like, this is all going to have to adapt, and it seems like that's what we're really seeing this year.
That's true. Yeah, Holley just did their mid this month. They're doing a whole like electronic festival.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, the marketing team at Holley is really good. And so they
bought Detroit Speed. We learned yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, they now own Detroit Speed, which is good for our friends at Detroit Speed.
I didn't know that Holley owns LS Fest. So, So when I went and snuck in there, I thought it was just like a community event thing, and didn't realize there's a whole marketing team behind it. And so they had me like every step of the way. They had me one-upped. They put me in that LS Fest jail and everything like that. And it looks, honestly, if you watch the video, it looks like I planned this, like to like ham up the fact that I was, bringing in a LS or a rotary swap Corvette to their event. They had wanted posters with my face saying, like that I'm wanted, 10 LS Fest shirts if they find me. Like they were one step ahead of me on,
That's really fun.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so those guys are awesome. They took this counterculture energy that I was taking to the event, and then they embraced it, and so they put me in their own little jail, and it was just like such a cool example of how a marketing company could do it right.
Yeah,
and I'm very, very impressed with that.
Every once in a while, the suits nail one.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they seem like good spirited people. The Holley people. Yeah, I've had good experiences with them.
Yeah, they've been wonderful.
Yeah,
they actually ended up me having the Corvette get caught up in LS Fest jail. They own all of Earl's fittings, like Earl's hoses and all that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so they actually ended up donating, hoses for me to do all my oil lines and coolant lines. And so the 4-rotor became possible to run at that SEMA because of Holley.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, so it all like accidentally worked out.
That's cool. Very smart of them.
Yeah. I think we need to see that crazy engine in Aston Martin. We need to see the IndyCar motor. Yeah. That would be very subversive to see the IndyCar motor in a regular car.
Yeah.
Like in a fucking, not an even FD, like a regular. You should put it in like a regular ass car.
There we go.
Buy an Accord.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like something like really, really boring.
An old A8.
You know, that,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, actually, like a big luxury sedan
A8L?
with an Indy car
Screaming at 14,000
yeah,
RPM.
it would be fucking wild.
Wow.
I feel like Scotto would put that in one of his 90 cars.
Oh,
like
he would.
you know.
Yeah.
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 I like that. I liked his Audi. Did you see Scotto's Audi outside?
yeah.
It
Gorgeous.
looks dope.
I'm gonna be honest and say his looks way better than Ken's. Like
Well, Ken's looks like an S.
Yeah.
It looks like an S1 short wheelbase. You know what I mean? And that's cool because
Yeah.
that's what he's into. But
But
Scotto's
Scotto's
looks
is
like a fucking
beautiful.
touring car.
Yeah.
It's pretty rad.
But
Yeah.
I also feel like, kind of going back to your point earlier about how a lot of fenders being put on FDs were really square, it seems like the manufacturing abilities might have changed on over fenders because I'm seeing more creative, round, smoother shapes. Like the Bronco we saw over there that had, aftermarket fenders bolted to the body.
Oh, that
panel.
thing
It
up
looked
on
gorgeous.
stage,
It was
that
like
was cool.
curvy.
Interesting.
and
I think that
creative.
was
It
Vaughn's.
I think it was.
It said
was a
something
fun
about
haver.
fun having
It was
on
a
it.
fun
I think
haver,
that was
right.
Vaughn's.
But
Yeah.
we also saw some other cars around here where it seems like the over fenders are actually staying kind of true to the original design instead of just
Yeah.
going, here's what we can make, and you're like, why is a round thing on a square car, or
Yeah.
vice versa?
Yeah,
So,
that makes a lot of sense because I realize if I can do it or if I'm exposed to it, it's already has some level of market like saturation or penetration because like I'm not the cutting edge guy yet, and so it's neat that these 3D panels that are being made for my car, like these guys, there's a bunch of younger guys just making this stuff happen, and they have a CNC machine, so they have a huge machine cutting this big thing of wood. And then they paint the wood, they laminate it with some sort of like plasticky material, and then they make a mold from that. And it was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. But it's the coolest, like when it makes when it looks simple, then you're like, okay, that's a process that can be done,
replicated,
replicated.
They kind of use like
You just
the
gotta
old
like
wooden
watch them
buck
do
model.
it, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, that makes sense. And I would never, I'm not a creative guy like that. But once I see it, I'm like, oh my god, I could work with that.
Yeah. You ever tried casting anything?
No.
The guys in New Zealand, we met some crazy dudes down there, and this guy could I could cast you an intake manifold in my shed. I was like, what?
Yeah, how?
Crazy. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems very dangerous.
Yeah.
Hot aluminum. Like, it seems like maybe this is not something.
Well, you can go on YouTube and look up how to make your own iron forge out of like a brake rotor, but
Yeah.
it's very small, but it seems incredibly risky.
The business next to my new building is a casting and stamping place,
Forge. Ooh.
and they make parts for Shelby.
Whoa.
Yeah, so like if we actually needed something, like we could literally walk next door, and the guy behind me builds roll cages for demolition derby cars. He's like 80. He's got all this junk all over his place.
Yes.
All these old Volkswagens, and then he's got these like cells. Like literally imagine like a cage with like a seat, a Kirky seat in it, like but no car. And he's got racks and racks of these like things. Like clearly he just has like cars, and he just like shoves these cells into it and like sticks it in and like instant demo derby
That's
cars.
cool.
Yeah.
That'll be a good time.
So if we need a cage made, that guy's right next door.
Yeah.
Is there a skill that you want to learn, like, or do you just kind of learn as you go and figure out what you need to know next week?
Well, the skills I guess I'll put it this way: YouTube. If you're not capable of doing something and it's a knowledge or education based thing, YouTube makes that excuse go away. I literally I bought a CNC machine, and I'm like, I do not know how to use this damn thing. I don't. And I locked myself in the shop the whole weekend. I'm like, my goal is to be able to have the machine grab a different tool and then just do one line across the top of a piece of metal. That was my goal. And I watched all these other YouTubers, and they're not watching a CNC YouTuber is not exactly the most entertaining, but they were educational.
Yeah.
And by the end of the weekend, I was able to do exactly what I said. And I'm like, okay, I can learn these things from these guys that are very passionate. They're not doing it for YouTube money because they're not getting the views, but they're putting that content out there. So welding, CNC, so fabricating, all those sort of things. Those are things skills that I have proficient levels of because of other people putting that stuff out there online. And so at this point, I can tune for power, but I think going back to the point of suspension, that's my next frontier of understanding how to make the car handle.
Yeah.
Straight line stuff. Straight line stuff is a realm that I'm getting better and better and better at, pushing limits, but making a car turn and downforce are the two things that And the Indy car is kind of like cheating, but that's kind of where my next realm is understanding aero.
The suspension. You want to talk about some dry reading material? Suspension geometry books.
Yes,
that is some dry ass reading material.
It was only, it looks like it's 50 pages thick. And I bought it and it showed up. I was like, oh, I can read this quickly. And I opened it and I realized it's basically a textbook that had been printed on larger paper, so it was like 4 pages per page, very dense.
Yeah.
And it's tuned to win, and it's great. And it's like, here are the fundamentals of like scrub and king angle and all these things. But you just got to put the time in and read it.
Yeah.
You got to read every page 5 times as well.
Yep. Absolutely. My retention's not great on that stuff.
CNC is not easy either. I mean, I took a class in it in college, and we were carving like I don't know, like you had to like carve your name into this like block. My shit was real janky. It did not. I did not put the appropriate amount of effort into that. It seemed like, has it gotten? The control systems must be better than they were in 2000.
I can't comment on the 2000, but I can tell you that the new systems are attempting to be like an Apple interface, where you feel like I have this thing that comes down and automatically touches the surface and tells you the height. So you're saving yourself a lot of very manual.
No, we had
time.
to like literally plug in like the most basic. It was like a fucking IBM computer from 1983. Basically.
You know what's hard though is like say you're gonna cut something like a water bottle like this shape. The problem is less about can I cut this thing? Yes, but it's like how am I going to hold it so the machine doesn't throw it across the room when I go to do a second cut to clean up the other side. That problem solving is actually the wild part of CNC. Like,
what about 3D printing? You doing that yet?
I haven't gotten into that. I really haven't gotten into 3D printing, and that would make sense. My brother does a lot of that. Mm-hmm. He has a fuel system company for McLarens. And so he sells upgraded fuel systems for McLaren.
Really?
Yeah. He's got So he had a 12C, but he has like 720s and all that old gens. Yeah,
cool.
And so he originally 3D printed the fuel head for that, as a proof of concept sizing, and then went to CNC and cut it. But so my brother does a lot of that. But
that's cool.
Yeah, I don't.
3D printing can be very useful.
I believe that.
Even just one of the guys who works for me at the shop, like, does basic 3D printing, but like the shit he makes is real useful around the shop. Like, he just made this, like, we have a detailing area, right? So he's like, I keep having to like do this with the bottles, to get the end of a bottle of shampoo out. So he just like made this thing that holds the bottles upside down. So now it's just, they're ready to go. Yeah. And like I have like our main door to get in is like one of those, that's got the push bar, like an emergency door. And he's like came in one day with this like cuff that just like holds the push bar closed so you don't get locked out. I was like, he's like, I just made this shit at home. I was like, this is fucking great. This is like a really useful skill to have.
And that thing works perfectly. It fits perfect.
The cuff thing is awesome. It
slides off and on. It's great.
Yeah. He sells them on Etsy. Yep. You can buy them on Etsy. I don't know what it's called on Etsy, but he does sell them.
Yeah.
Like
that's like really useful.
Yeah, it's really wild because like I made like a turbocharger. The air comes out of the turbocharger and it's like a 2-inch. It depends on the turbo, but we'll say it's a 2-inch diameter. Yeah. I have a 3-inch tube over here, so I made this cone that it was more of an aesthetic thing where it just graduated from 2 to 3 inches in a certain. It looks like it was meant to be, and like holding that cone was really tough, and it looks so simple when you're done. You've done a good job when you realize when nobody notices it. Yeah. Like that's some of the best work in the world. From my background in IT, that you've done a good job when nobody knows the computer system working or not. They're just like it just is. Yeah. Right? They're complaining about something else. Yeah. And so on my cars, like when it just works and you kind of move on, it feels so unsatisfying that I just wasted all this time making this machine piece. But at the same time, it's done and it works.
That's why you have to do a little thing on it that says like I made this like on it, like that dude Steve Maxwell who did the Ferraris, and he built this batshit DeLorean that I just drove with a Kia Stinger GT engine in the back. But he made this like plate that goes on the top and CNC'd DMC in it, and like he tried to he dressed it up as if it would have come from DeLorean with all these like neat little details that you don't even notice at first, but then you're like, wow, that's actually like the most thoughtful thing ever.
Yeah, that is badass.
Well, this was fun, dude. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
You should come,
we basically hit
do we have questions?
We've hit all those topics people brought up just
great.
naturally,
cool.
except
What
someone
else you
asked what got you into cars?
Yeah. Well, truthfully, the Diablo, second grade. And what's weird is that is genuinely the adrenaline. I mean, I guess we're all adrenaline junkies in a sense, but that top speed thing, that was a childhood obsession. That and playing the violin, which I don't know why you do those.
Very different.
Very weird. I cried when I missed the school teacher like signing everybody up for like musical instruments, like the recorder and whatnot. I was like super upset. But anyway,
like, fuck you, I'm gonna go buy a Diablo one day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can't play the violin, so I'm gonna just buy a Diablo. It was an either or in second grade. That was a weird. I can't explain why I fixated. And then after that, it's just been kind of. Anytime I get that rush, that there's that rush in each different type of motorsport, and I'm not even really good at it. And but the improving and going faster and all that—that's just such a feeling alive. And so that I think that there's some level of deep psychological reason why I love cars so much. And I love building. That's the weird part too. But yeah, when I run those cars and I built that car and it works. Oh my God!
That's got to be the most
what
rewarding
an overwhelming
feeling in the world.
This is so dumb because doing a burnout is not a big deal. Like doing a burnout is not like an achievement. But when Scotto, I don't fangirl, but like when I saw Gymkhana 7 and they pulled all those permits to have that Hoonicorn go all across LA, and I was in Michigan and LA was like this like mythical place to me. Like all that added up, and then for Scotto to be the guy that's like, hey, you want to do this all-wheel drive burnout at our burn yard, and the Hoonicorn was there and all this, and it was wild because we were going to hook the car up to just one toe strap, or to two toe straps, so it was going to hold the car square, and Scott goes, you know how to use the brake, right? And I'm like, yeah. They took one of the toe straps off so the car would wave back and forth while I was doing that all-wheel drive burnout, but just to have that vehicle prove itself in front of that whole audience, first I had not done a chained-up burnout ever. All-wheel drive.
Most people haven't.
Yeah.
That's not something people practice.
Yeah. But so for that to be such an extreme shock load challenge on that vehicle and it to work flawlessly, oh my God, what a insane moment in my life. And it was neat because Scotto talked to me for a while, just kind of like how it inspired him, and I'm like, how cool is that? I don't know, just connects. Yeah. There's so many different reasons.
Making the circle is crazy.
Yeah. So what got me into cars has just been that feedback of that just getting more and more crazy.
Yeah. Wow, that's great, man.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Good times. Well, thanks for joining us, dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's a really good show. You're a fucking maniac. You're out of your mind. I like it.
I'm getting there.
Yeah. I have to come see this Indy car.
Yeah.
It's in Ontario?
Yeah. It's on right off the airport.
Yeah, I got to come see this fucking thing. This is so silly.
Yeah.
Especially once you can figure out how to start it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I got a company helping me make the like Gatling gun.
Is the engine in the car?
It's sitting right next to it right now.
Yeah, because you need the rolling cart thing to start it, right?
Yeah.
Do you need an oil preheater also?
Being that we're in Valvoline's booth, I'm just gonna run it without preheating it too much. Like I really don't have like I'm just gonna I might toast that motor, but we'll see.
Wow. Hopefully you don't.
Yeah.
That would be a shame.
Yeah.
Could that be one expensive coffee table?
Yeah.
Do we know anyone that used to like build Indy motors that you should call before?
Well, that's my best part about YouTube is that people have reached out. They're like, hey, I used to work
Steph
on those.
Papadakis?
Like someone who like, no, you need to heat it up, or I don't know,
Yeah.
or dine in it. I think he was a little after that.
There's a guy at Mountoon, of all places.
Ken?
Yeah.
Ken would know. He would definitely know.
He reached out to me.
Because don't they work on like DFVs? I think they work on Cosworth DFVs.
And he used to work on my engine series.
Yeah.
So he
I
said,
think you might have to preheat the oil.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you mentioned
the
that.
tolerances are too tight. I don't think you can just crank
Yeah,
it.
just Google it.
I think if you just put that starter on there without it, I think you would just roast the fucking rings.
Okay, well,
right
I'm glad you asked because I didn't know. And so
no, they hook these things up to these portable oil preheating machines. They're really weird.
Yeah.
I don't even know where you find one of them.
You know what I'll do is I'll just run an oil line from my four-rotor.
Yeah.
Blood transfusion.
That would be...
That's kind of what it is. Like
that would actually probably work.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe it, but that probably would work. There must be some reason. Someone will find a reason to tell me why that won't work.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to go with
That's a great
that'll
video
definitely
too.
work.
That's a great video.
Yeah, and if you did, it is a perfect video.
Yeah.
All right, that's our
Good
show
stuff,
for
guys.
today. We're back tomorrow with Freddie Tavares Hernandez, who has even weirder fucking shit boxes than you. He just told me he has 30 cars.
He needs to stop.
He's
selling a bunch of them.
He has a real problem.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. And you know where to find Rob on fucking his YouTube channel. That's where all the things are. See you later.